guys.
Hey guys. So yes, Paul was going a little nuts there with the AR-15. Is that what that was?
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. I just saw, I'm over here at Jimmy's desk and he's getting all set up, and then we look at the stream because he has it up on his monitor, and we're like, what the is all those zombies doing there?
That's what happens.
And then all of a sudden it's like, like I saw someone in chat going, he's a hero. It was pretty funny.
That's what happens when a dev goes AFK, essentially.
As Bill throws popcorn at me. So Jimmy, you're here to basically show a little bit of what he does.
We've been talking, so all day today we've shown a lot what was going on with the build, right? Like we talked about the barricades, we've shown where we are in the game right now.
Yes.
And now we talk a little bit about what our plans are and kind of the tuning that we do behind the scenes. I'm one of the guys that does that. Realistically, our decisions that are made to tune these things are collaborative. Every once in a while I'm like, let's try this first, and usually people are like, no.
Yeah.
Essentially, like a lot of stuff we're going to show here is a lot of data related. Instead of just going into like what I'm referencing to see what the code's doing versus happening inside of data, we're just going to talk about what the end result is in game. I'll change some of that stuff. You met a couple of the the tool programmers. Sorry, it's been a long day.
It's code grammars.
Code grammars. Some of the graham crackers?
Graham motors.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know.
But a lot of the guys that work on the tools here, we have a tool in-house called Design Tool, which interfaces with a central database that allows us to tune a lot of these variables. And when we build out, it'll export a lot of these to plain text and then be encoded. And server checks all that for validity, makes sure it matches up. A lot of really complicated stuff. Yada yada yada. How's the monitor look like? Can you actually see the monitor from the camera? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I just didn't know, but
now I can.
now you can.
Thanks for going right in front of it.
So real quick, let me pull a couple of these things up. I want to make sure I get the right item stuff. This is the boring side of things for a lot of you guys. Different game companies use different types of ways to tune things. Some use like XML-based files. Some use database stuff, and this is the boring part for a lot of you guys. So for now, I am just going to see if I can get the proper items I need to tune. And I'm going to just quickly grab a pistol and the AR. I'm going to show you guys a few of the tuning values that we'll be using to get the right feel that we want, the proper ballistics, some of our debug commands there. And let's go a little bit further full screen.
There we go.
Actually, just got an email saying the main's going to go down where we build. Where is my pistol? Did it not work?
How to video game.
How to video game, somebody?
I don't know. I think you add the pistol, and then you add the ammo.
There it goes. I got it.
All right.
I was just trying to get it out there. Okay, so essentially our goals with the combat behind this game are going to be much slower than DayZ. And right now we're on on the planet side backend, so a lot of our stuff is still from that as far as like our actual network and everything. So, okay. For example, like the first-person arms right now are completely attached to the screen. So what you're seeing there is these arms will always follow it.
Can you change time of day?
Sure, yeah, we can do that. Bam. So what we want to move towards is a more weighted character. That's why right now you see some of the movement acceleration values. So going from a dead stop further on up takes, I think something like right now I have it at 1.8 seconds. Mm-hmm. And as you move around, we don't want the character to be so rigid. Like the arms won't be directly stuck here. Your head's going to turn independently from the arms and that sort of thing. That's where we're headed as far as the feel for the game. So your YOLO 180 no scope headshots are going to be a lot more difficult.
If you pull it off in this game, you are a god.
You are a god. Guys like Lyric, which I'm a big fan of, avid watcher of the stream, gets insane in DayZ, and like
he makes that game look like he's playing Call of Duty.
It does, and it's really hard. It's a really hard thing to master. And this game will be about the same. A big difference from what you're used to in this genre is we're going to be going for a recoil base of gameplay. And if I turn on debug projectiles here, let's make sure it actually worked. It did. So we're going to take a look at kind of the exterior ballistic stuff we're using.
Check out the projectile that you just shot so people can see.
It goes, I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but you can see the origin of the bullet. We're going to see kind of how it travels across a path. Right now we do have the ability to tune the initial vector of the bullet. So when you actually fire a bullet from a gun, you're not going to fire that thing straight out. It actually has a little bit of an arc to it. And barrels are rifled, so the bullets spin. So it gets a little bit more flight out of it and has different characteristics based on the caliber. So we'll be tuning a lot of that stuff. And that's typically what I do. So right now, last build you guys saw when we were shooting at zombies, a lot of people were like, are they going to do a default zoom? That's something I'm playing with right now. We're actually going to pull out the default zoom. Right now there's no FOV shift on iron sights. So different weapons based on their iron sights and position the player will hold them.
Really? It doesn't actually
like
Z-axis in or out?
Right, yeah, right. And I control, along with the animators, like I can move the Z-axis around for where the gun's being held, but sometimes it looks bad, so we need the animations to match that.
Okay.
But right now this is about where it is. We're not going to be doing any sort of FOV shifts, any sort of zooms, and realistically this is very static. We want this to move around a little bit, get a little bit of sway, but we're not going to do that in the crosshair, because the gun's going to be firing from the barrel, not exactly where the crosshair is always pointing. You'll be more reliant on your iron sights than you are what's in the middle of your screen, which is essentially
You actually have to aim down sights.
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily. Like, you can shoot from the hip. You get a general idea of where it's going to go, but it's not always going to be that directly to the middle of the screen. Depends on where your gun is positioned. The reason why we're detaching the head from the arms, so let's say that we turn left really fast. Like right now you can see a little bit of a shift, but realistically the head's going to turn this way and the gun's going to follow shortly after at a different rate, depending on the size of the weapon you have. If you're breaching a building and you have a massive gun, it's going to be hard to turn those corners really fast, so it will turn a little bit slower. It's heavier, more cumbersome. Pistols and some of your smaller weapons, even some of the smaller shotguns, a lot easier indoors. So when I turn, if I'm still turning and I fire, that gun's going to be behind. I'll be looking this direction, that gun will still be firing there. So you need to wait for that to align and really put more thought into when and how you're engaging things, because in the end we want this to be a very tactical, decision-based game. There's going to be consequences for even just shooting. Like you need to pay not just how much noise it makes, but
I was getting a lot of questions from players about military tactics and military sims and military shooters and all of that, and they're very concerned about the weapons being, twitchy and not on point for what they're expecting. So I'm sure they'll be glad to hear out there that the guns will behave exactly like what you were just saying, and it'll be really skillful to kind of. And this is just with a pistol. Imagine a sniper rifle,
Yeah.
or.
And right now, like we have a big contrast. We have the melee weapons in. We're trying to figure out what the best way to engage with that is going to be. We've been talking about ideas, or I've been talking with the animators and code. Like Greg Spence works a lot on the combat stuff. We talked to him earlier. What we'd like to do is, would you go into melee combat, especially with fists, like you could sucker punch someone right now because there's no ready state for the fist. Like you just go walk up to them
and all boom.
Yeah, you just walk up and you're like,
hello,
right,
I'm friendly.
They see you with your hands down, but realistically all you have to do is click and they just go bam, just punch you right in the mouth, which does happen in real life. I mean, that's true. I won't say it, but World Star Hip Hop. That's what you see on the internet all the time. But realistically, we want people to know what intentions are, so there needs to be some sort of readying to that, whether that's a charge back with a fist for the first punch, or that's iron sights for fist is going up ready to,
Hear that, Sean?
Yeah, you hear that, Sean John?
Hear that, Sean?
Sean John?
You hear that? We're talking about fists.
We're talking about them fists,
Talking about them fisticuffs.
Oh, yeah, what's up?
That's right. No, we were just talking about like kind of what we're planning here. We're talking about like right now how you can sucker punch someone. Like if we're standing next to each other in game, we're like,
you want to get slaps in too.
right, dang, that was close. you walk up.
That would be awesome.
Right. Well,
he just slaps and walks away. You want to get slaps too, Kappa. Walks away. I'm watching it again on the stream.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I got distracted. Streamception going on over here.
Streamception. All right.
But talking about a few of the shifts that we're trying to make right now with what we have to get prepared to detach those and get the right feel for the first-person hands and arms is just yesterday I pulled out the zoom and I pulled out the FOV shifts and changed a few of the movement values, but thankfully, because of our awesome tools programmers, I no longer have to write a bunch of SQL to jump into our DB and figure out and change values. This tool will update dynamically, so I can do things like this, which is it's going to look horrible. Like I can switch around a lot of this stuff as I wish.
Where'd your arms go?
Way out into the distance here. But
oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Leave that there for like a half second. No, just kidding, don't do it.
It looks so bad. But realistically, finding the proper balance here is a lot of what I do. It's honestly fairly easy to change a lot of these values, but finding the right tuning value and how that's going to feel in combat
it's a lot of balance. It's a lot of tweaking.
Sure. Yeah, that's why a lot of my time is really spent with animators and code trying to make sure that we have the proper support to get the game to feel right. My concern in this game is, I'm always the guy fighting for the basics. Let's make sure that we get the guns feeling right, that we have the proper weight to the character, that what people would expect out of a tactical survival shooter.
Definitely.
But I mean, something like this, like we might have a couple different pistols held different ways. 1911 is a full-size 45, so someone might hold that a little bit further. It's not a gun. It's got a decent amount of kick to it. You're not going to be holding this thing way up here, but you get something like a Beretta Compact 9mm, which obviously going to be a Beretta in our game, but a 9mm Compact might hold a little bit closer. Just based on the size of iron sights, people will hold guns a little bit differently. A firearms trainer will never tell you that, but this is a video game. Yes. So we will hold a few of these, and they will have different advantages based on that.
This guy also needs to take a lesson in trigger
safety.
Trigger safety.
That's right. Yeah, we actually troll some of the artists around because we have some prop guns. They always walk around with their finger on the trigger, like trigger safety. Slap it out of their hand, which also you don't do ever. Don't ever.
Don't slap a guy's hand when he has a gun in it.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, just stay away from guns, kids.
Got it. Stay in school, kids.
That's right. But right now, I'm working still with a couple of guns you've seen on stream. We have the 1911 and we have the AR-15. Right now, it's
I like
actually.
how you just like to, randomly just headshot a guy from, 150 meters.
It's at 150 meters.
NBD,
by far.
one bullet, one shot.
So something else we've been tuning with a little bit, and this is a really big balancing act, is like recoil values. And I don't know if you were able to see this side, and I can actually turn the monitor a little bit. The beauty of monitor arms. If I don't turn the monitor
this is 2014, man.
This is only a very small part of what we have. We have everything from a recoil magnitude minimum to a maximum. We have recoil recovery delays. Right now there is 0 recovery in our game. That means once you fire a bullet and that first shot recoil kicks you up, you're not going to recover from that as a player. You need to manually pull that back down. So really your high rate of fire weapons later on when you start implementing those have the advantage of a bunch of bullets down range, but you're going to have to be able to compensate for that in game. It's not just simply waiting for the cone of fire to shrink. And on that topic, we'll talk about like cylinder fire stuff a little bit later. But trying to take a look at chat. Will there be gun modification is what question that I'm seeing a lot. That's something we've talked about. One of the biggest things that we want to look at right now is durability before we start jumping into adding additions like, let's put a silencer on this weapon and like you just find one and put it on. Before we jump to that, which we'd like to do, I am really trying to make sure that we have, like all of us really, we're trying to make sure that we have the basics down. And this is a big part of it. For example, like that first shot, like you notice as I run around, I'm getting like perfect headshots every time. Like this time around, we have a first shot recoil modifier. So I was aiming about the same place I was at that zombie. I should probably turn God mode on while I'm testing this. But there's a first shot recoil now. So it's going to throw you off a little bit. And per gun, it's going to be a little different. I threw it up really high right now.
Yeah, that's like you're firing a 50 cal.
And to show you guys what that looks like without, yeah, it's like you're standing and firing a Beretta, like.
Yeah.
Right,
so it makes it a little harder to shoot the guys.
Sure, but I mean, like even at this range, I'm whiffing a little bit. Like I'm not going to be able to hit those shots at this range. But realistically, 1911 is a choice of a lot of guys that do a lot of competition and target shooting. So it's a very accurate gun. We're not realistically going to have it this high.
That's good though. That means if you get into a firefight with a guy at that range, it's not just going to end immediately. You need to actually have some skill with the weapon that you're holding.
Sure.
You need to understand how it fires. You need to have some practice with it.
And realistically, the skill difference is you need to be able to aim, but realistically, decision making and positioning is going to be the biggest thing between two players. It's not going to be like CS or Quake, where it's about like who reacts the fastest necessarily. It's more about when you choose to engage. If you decide to run and shoot, it's usually only for covering fire because it's going to be a large modifier.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hard to hit targets while you are moving. So that's definitely something else that we're trying to tune in right now. Let's see, I am taking a look at chat as I'm talking about some of this stuff. Sorry, I didn't have anything really planned here. I know that we have a lot of combat-related questions. A lot of people were concerned with the way it looks currently, and I want to talk about kind of the future of what we're dealing with here. There is bullet drop, by the way. People are asking that in chat as well. Right now, we're using we're using the actual values for 45 ACP as far as feet per second and everything else. The mass isn't tuned right just yet. But like if I shoot off into the distance, you can see right now the mass of the bullet dropping there a little bit as it goes off into the distance. But there'll be more than that. The bullets will be faster than what you see in PlanetSide, and you won't see the tracer rounds like you do in PlanetSide either. Ooh, I even thought about this, like if we put tracer rounds in the game as a last resort thing, so like maybe tracer rounds are more common than non.